always a cringe factor for me, something that I was scared for rather than excited about, because 30? Huh? I think the biggest fear was just connected to the fact that I felt like I didn't have it all figured out. Hello everyone, I hope everyone is doing great. Thank you so much to all of my subscribers. If you're not a part of the family, please subscribe to my channel. Simply click that subscribe button. And so now, once you do it, you're tapped in. You know what's happening and when, all on my channel. If you could also like this video if you like the content, and comment your thoughts. Let me know what you're thinking, and let me know if this is good, if this is bad, if you want to hear more, what you want to talk about in the comments. I love the feedback. I love the opportunity to engage with all of you. So this week I celebrated a birthday, turning 28. Birthdays are always special to me because in my eyes, I think they're the day that God specifically chose to say, you know what, I want to bless the world with him or with her. And I just think it should be celebrated. That was a deliberate choice that God made, and we all are grateful for the blessings that you've provided to this world, and they should be celebrated. So for me, I love birthdays. But the idea of getting 30 or getting close to 30, I turned 28 this year, was always a cringe factor for me. Something that I was scared for rather than excited about, because 30? Huh? I think the biggest fear was just connected to the fact that I felt like I didn't have it all figured out. Watching movies, watching shows, it seemed as though when people were 30, they were married, they had cars that were nice and fancy, they lived in homes, they had a dog, they had their kids. It just seemed like everyone, once they were 30, had it all figured out. And the way my life was going, the way things were seeming to flow, it just didn't give everything figured out by 30. And so I was afraid of the idea of aging into 30s because I'm just like, I just don't think I'm there yet. And every time, I remember my husband, when we first met, we would talk about our birthdays or getting older, and I was kind of like, I don't want to talk about it. I don't want to talk about it, because from the confidence factor of my own self, I'm just like, I don't know. When you get old, you get gray hair, you get wrinkles, my body, like, we're talking about babies, your body changes. I'm already a thick girl. The idea of getting even thicker, I'm like, I don't know. It didn't excite me or entice me. And working with my job, I've had the conversation, check out my previous video, in talking about pay. I didn't have my savings set up in a way. I didn't really have a lot of surplus money. I just felt like aging just wasn't for me. And although I know it's a natural course of life, I just didn't think I was ready and prepared for getting older. And over the years, over the year, because this was a very fresh conversation I've had with my husband about a year or more so ago, I started to have a new way of thinking. And I started to see more clearly that this whole idea of getting older is actually a beautiful thing. And it should be celebrated just as big as all of the other years. I remember my Sweet 16. I had a huge Sweet 16. I had literally 16 people in my court. It was one of those grandiose birthday celebrations. And as I look back at that memory from pictures and things, I realize, as amazing as that birthday was, I didn't, one, see myself as beautiful. I didn't, two, realize how blessed I was to have parents in the way that I did. And I also realized 90% of those people in those pictures, I'm not even friends with anymore. Those people that I thought that I would be reaching 30 with are no longer in my life. And each of those things, from my confidence in myself and my family pouring into me and blessing me, as well as the relationships that I had back then, I've learned a lot since then that actually makes me excited for turning 30. I have so much more faith than I had when I was 16 as compared to now. I had to grow my faith when I was from then when I was 16 until now, in a way that I would have never thought or imagined. During these last 28 years of living, God has planted opportunities in my life for me to stretch my faith. And back then, as smiley and happy as I was when I was 16, I'm so blessed and grateful that my family's faith is what I was riding on, not my own. For those of you who don't know me, I grew up in church. I was there about every single Sunday. I was in a dance ministry. I knew so many people in the church. A lot of my whole core friend group, a lot of them, we all went to the same church. I was in the youth ministry. I went to actually 2 churches. My neighbors were youth pastors of another church. So I was very involved in the church. But did I have as much faith as I have now back then? Absolutely not. It wasn't until I really started growing older, more than likely in my 20s, in college, out of college, working in my first jobs, moving to new states, where I started to really see faith at work. I would say more recently, when it comes to mine, how I know that my faith has grown. So during COVID, I've mentioned before how I was not working for an entire year. And I can freely say that in conversation with you, but in the moment of it, I was going through a lot. My grandfather, who is no longer with us, his health was declining. And I would spend my days driving to take him to appointments. And after I would take him to appointments, I was working in Instacart. I would basically go grocery shopping for people and deliver their groceries. And after that, I would try to make time to go with my friend to the gym. And I was also relationally in a space with someone who did not believe in God. For months, that was my routine. And as I said, I can casually say that to you. But if I called up my friend right now, who was with me in the gym all of those days, she would tell you how rough of a season that was for me. I would call her crying, tears of feeling like God had forgotten about me. I'm a writer, and so my conversations with God would be journaling. I literally could probably show you a stack of books where I would journal. And from about December of 2020 to April of 2021, I have 0 journal entries because I stopped speaking to God because I thought he forgot about me. I couldn't muster up the strength to speak to someone when I felt like he had forgotten about me. And it's crazy enough, I've shared this before if you follow me on Instagram, but it was like a switch that came up in me where I was like, something has to change. And I think it starts with me. I remember I had a coloring book. I had an adult coloring book, and one day I was cleaning my room, and the coloring book had opened up, and on the page it said, "Amazing things are going to happen." And I took that page of my coloring book and I hung it up in my room, and I was like, you know what? This is going to be my start to something new. From then, I took my vision board that I had created 2 years prior and I put that up on the wall as well. And I put it up on the back of my door so that every day when I wake up, whether I wake up on my right side, I see on one wall, amazing things are going to happen. Or if I wake up on my left side and I look up, I see on the back of my door my vision. I wanted something new to happen. And I remember in that same time frame, I had been going to the grocery store. I talked about how I was doing Instacart. And I was in the store, people order some crazy things when they do Instacart, but that's for another day. And I was walking in the grocery store and I was looking at these candles. I love to smell the candles. So I'm looking at the candles, helping someone find some grocery item. And on this candle, it said, "Good things are coming." And I bought the candle. And that was the lowest moment that I had been, and I was on the up and up. And after that, I got my job, and after I got my job, I met my husband, and I got on my first billboard, and I started to see God's movement in my life. It was like night and day. From 2021 to 2022, God was like, I'm moving and I'm working. You just have to wait for me. But it was the years that taught me that. As I grow older and I experience more, my faith grows, which makes me not afraid of 30 because I now have more faith. I talked about also that COVID year, and it was also very pivotal for me in not only seeing God, but seeing myself. I allowed myself to be in predicaments that were not conducive for being the best version of Monique. When I was younger, I used to go to this doctor, and I went to her. She's my pediatrician. I went to her for my whole life, and she always would tell me, "You're too big." And I'm mentioning it, and it relates to the COVID year because I talked about how I was going to the gym all the time. And I was going to the gym all the time because it became a habit for me to counteract the voices of what people have told me all these years. You're too big, you're so thick, you're so curvy. I've always been a little bit larger than everyone around me. I would be in friend groups, whether I was taller than everyone or I was thicker than everyone. I always felt like I was bigger than everyone. And so it sort of became an unhealthy habit where I would go crazy hard in the gym to try to prove everyone wrong, not realizing that God uniquely designed me in a way that was beautiful. And as my faith began to grow, I started to realize I don't need to prove anyone wrong. I can walk in confidence knowing that I was beautifully created, even if that means I'm a little bit thicker than everybody else. Even if that means I'm off the charts for an average 18-year-old, but my vitals are good. And that confidence is what I struggled with for years. I was afraid to become 30 because, as I said before, when I painted that picture of what the 30 life is, where you got your kids, well, that also means my body is likely going to change. And if I've been unhealthily experiencing body fluctuations for years, the idea of becoming 30 and then the associated concept of having children did not seem that fun to me. So as I've grown, I've started to realize I am grown, and hips and curves is what's a part of a 30-year-old body. And so yes, it may have been earlier than my time when I was 20 or 18 or 16, feeling like, man, I got more hips than everybody else. But now that I'm 30, well, hey, look at me. I'm right where I'm supposed to be. And the curves are right on with me. And as I continue to evolve, I am walking in gratitude and confidence because of it. It's funny, when I first struggled with this, my husband, he used to say, you know, you really need to work on your affirmations. You really need to work on your affirmations. I was like, I used to say this affirmation, I'm not where I want to be, but thank God I'm not where I used to be. I'm okay and I'm on my way. And that was great. And it was a great affirmation. But he introduced me to this idea of making specific affirmations. And the more specific the affirmation, the more you can grow in confidence. And so when we first started dating and he introduced me to this idea of specific affirmations, I wrote my own. I wrote affirmations that counteracted the voices and the things that were riding in my mind that weren't true. That you're too big, or you're too thick, or you're too tall, right? All of those two phrases, I wrote an affirmation so that when I wake up in the morning or when I look at myself in the mirror, the things that I say affirm who I am. Meaning, I already am that. I'm just reminding myself. So I would say, this is truth. I always started with this is truth. I learned that from my brother. Whenever you say affirmations, you remind yourself, this is truth. So I said, this is truth. I am not an accident. I am the magic that this world needs. I am love. I am kindness. I am joy. I am beautiful. I am Monique Danielle Robinson. So my name's changed, but that was the affirmation that I had initially, and I wrote it on my mirror. Like I literally wrote it on my bathroom mirror. I had a huge bathroom mirror, and I would read that to myself. And again, because this is affirmation, and because I'm telling it to myself, not only is these words that I'm describing myself or these affirmations sitting in my subconscious, but they're also in my conscious. So if I'm waking up in the morning and I'm saying I am joy, I automatically am walking out giving joy because I just reminded myself I am joy. I'm saying when I wake up in the morning, I am the magic this world needs. So that when I walk out, I spread what I got in me. I give away what I have. I use the word magic because I think it's a beautiful thing where each of us have unique gifts, talents, and skills. That's what our magic is. That's what I'm talking about. So as I grew in age and experience and time with keeping those affirmations up and just seeing myself in a better way, looking at myself in the mirror, appreciating the beautiful curves that I have, stepping on the scale and knowing and understanding that this weight is my number, I started to grow in confidence. So not only did I have more faith now that I'm getting older, but now I have more confidence. Whew. Those insecurities really can eat you alive, even when you're so beautiful. It's crazy because I used to always feel like I had to do something, add something to make myself, look good. Whether it was my hair, makeup, dressing a certain way, I always had to do something because naturally me, I just didn't feel like it was enough. And I would say about a month ago, my husband and I had went to New York, and maybe it was 2 months ago. And we were on the subway, or we were waiting for the subway, and we just started taking pictures of each other. And I had my twists in. I had no makeup on. I think I was wearing like yoga pants, and I had a scarf and my coat on. And he snapped some pictures of me, and I looked at myself and I was like, wow, I look good. And humbly speaking, I'm saying that from a place of a person who years ago, or maybe even a year ago, would have said, oh, delete that. Let's take another one, or you know what, I don't even want to take it. And I'm truthfully sharing that with you of, I was happy that I liked what I saw. That to me shows that I have surely enough grown in my confidence. I think going back to that Sweet 16 story, I even look back and I see to myself when I see those pictures, man, I looked good, but certainly I was so caught up in so many other things on my mind that I didn't even realize how good of a kid I was. In all assets, I think I've not only grown in confidence with my physical, but emotionally, I've grown confidence knowing that the way that I feel is valid. I've grown in confidence in knowing that my knowledge and my wisdom is worth sharing. But also, I did mention how 90% of those people in that picture I'm no longer friends with. And growing up as a kid, whether you're in high school, middle school, even college, for years when you lose friends, it can feel like, what's wrong? Why am I not able to maintain healthy relationships? Whether it's friends or dating, why is it that relationships don't work? And as I've grown older, I started to realize my relational intelligence has grown. Because I realized that when a lot of those relationships severed, it was what was best for me. And thus, because it was best for me, it was also good for them. And that's a hard thing to settle with when you were a child, but as you grow older, as your relational intelligence grows, you realize certain relationships are not necessary for the season in which you're in. I think that's something that I'm more intentional about now because of the difficulties and the hurt and the pain that I've dealt with before, both in dating and friendships, that I realize I need to be intentional about everything now. I talked about before when I was first with my husband, we were dating, we were both being very intentional in making sure that this relationship worked because of how we have been blinded by things before. But that comes with age. Because we are now older and we're growing older, we realized, hey, we need to do this a little bit more smarter. We need to make changes and we need to do things differently when it comes to this relationship because when we were younger, we made mistakes. And the same thing applies for friendships. Most of my friends have been made by association because we work at the same place or because we go to the same school, we just become friends. Not meaning that these are bad people. There's still some great people that I've met along the way. Those are great places to make connections. But there's a difference between making a friend because we work together and making a friend because we're on the same purpose path. Where I'm passionate about motivating people and making sure that they grow in becoming a better version of themselves. And you are also. And so we become friends because we're both aligned with that same purpose goal. That's different than, hey, we both work at this same grocery store and the reason why we're friends now is because we both clock in at 8 and leave at 5. You know what I mean? Like those are two completely different cases, scenarios. And because I'm older now, I'm siding more with the purpose-driven relationships than I am with the association ones. But that comes with time, comes with learning, and age, of course, is attached to that. So I'm super duper grateful that I have grown more in relational intelligence, but there's also something really important that I've grown and increased more of that gratitude, it just screams gratefulness. I've been doing a lot of consultation conversations with people lately about their value. My phone has been constantly on this path of people hitting me up saying, Monique, I have this gig coming up, or I have this job that I'm applying for, and I really don't know what to ask for. I don't know what I'm worth. And I've been there before. I've talked about before where I remember my first job contract I ever got. Ooh, my earring fell off. My very first job contract that I got, I remember getting the contract feeling like, man, this is a lot of money. And then I remember paying my first rent and buying my groceries, thinking to myself, man, this is not a lot of money. Paying my car and everything, thinking, man, this is not a lot of money. But everybody knew what I had in me. And the reason why I know everyone knew what I had in me, because even though I was making nothing, I was surrounded by a lot. And the reason why I was surrounded by a lot is because clearly I was attracting people because of something. Whether it was my skills people wanted some of, whether it was my energy, whether I looked good, I was attracting people because of something about me but I wasn't getting the right price for it. I was losing because I was giving away more than what I was getting. And that is what I have learned now that I'm getting older. I know more of my price tag. And so I talked about how people have been hitting me up asking me for the number, and a lot of it is not even about what the world sees, because the world has the money. I think it's a lot of times is us standing on our faith, our confidence, and even our own relational intelligence, knowing and understanding that as we grow older, our value increases. I look back and I think back to that girl that was 16 who had this Sweet 16 party, but was also in 50 million other organizations in school. I was overextending myself to the T. And obviously at the time, I hadn't been getting paid for it. And so over the years, I kept implementing that same behaviors as I started to get into adulthood. And now that I'm here, I'm looking back like, man, I'm doing a lot and not getting paid enough for it. I started to realize all that I've been doing has a price tag to it. And that comes with age. That comes with years. And as I get closer to 30, I can more confidently walk in what that price tag is. So whether you're turning 30 or 28 like me, or 50 or 60 or 12, I hope that as you age, you get excited about adding more years to your life, because not only is your faith growing, but so is your confidence, your relational intelligence, but more so even your value. I can't thank you all enough for the ways in which you have poured into my life through these videos so far. I pray that I'm speaking to you as you continue to grow and mature in any of these areas and more. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, please make sure to subscribe and like this video if you like what I had to say. And even if you don't, tell me about it in the comments. Tell me your thoughts on this video, on the content that I've been sharing, and also I've been showcasing to you my weather store. Make sure to tap in and check out some of our shirts that are on sale for the weather store. Easy. Shop online, MoniqueTawiah.com/shop. And you can shop some of these items here. If you want to be a sponsor for an episode, very simple. Email me details in the comments. Your information of your business could be displayed on a future episode. I'm so excited for all God is doing in our life. This is a family, y'all. And if you're not a part of the family, please subscribe. Have a wonderful rest of your day. Stay safe, and happy birthday for any other birthdays out there. Bye-bye.